Today I will be showing you how I made this Perler bead bouquet. Some things you'll need for the project are perler beads, parchment paper, and an iron. To put the flowers together, I used hot glue and floral stems from the craft store. Here's the template for the pattern of each flower. You can also change up the design to make it your own. Beginning with my favorite flower, the sunflower. The petals are symmetrical and look like the sun. I use the masking tape method when I bead. Flipping the project this way, I usually lose 1 or 2 beads, but they are very easy to pop back into place. I iron both sides of my projects evenly, and then mold each piece while the plastic is still hot. Be careful doing this. Probably should use gloves to protect you from the heat. The center of the flowers are ironed flat. Here's how the pieces will fit together in the end. Some flowers have very big leaves. I made them almost as big as the flower itself. Molding the leaf into shape while it's still hot from the iron. I curl the sides of the leaves a bit and push the tip of the leaf down. These back pieces of each leaf are ironed flat. The final piece of the sunflower lays behind the petals and connects the flowers to the stem. I curl each piece to match the petals from before. Now it's time to build. I use floral stems and hot glue for this. I shaped the end of the wire to make this foot. I put a dab of hot glue on the center of the flower and glue the foot into place. Once that is cool, I add some more hot glue around it and slide the next piece of the flower onto the stem. I hold the pieces together until the glue dries. Each piece is added to the stem this way. The glue helps to make sure that the pieces don't rotate freely and fall out of place. The flower is already done. Now time to add some leaves. I cut a smaller section of wire for the stem of the leaf and shape it into a foot once more. I glue that in place where the stem will connect to the leaf, similarly to how I created the flower. I bead some green perler beads onto each piece I've made until the point where I'd like the leaf to attach to the flower stem. This part is a little difficult. The stem of the leaf attaches to the stem of the flower by threading through the same beads. It is a little hard to explain what I'm doing, but watch closely and you should understand. The width of the stem I use fits very snug in the beads when doubled up. If you use wire that is too thin, it would not be able to hold the weight of the flower itself. To finish off this stem, I add beads until the desired length. I finish the end by bending the wire over. This way it is easy to change the length later if you need to change the height of the flower in the bouquet. Next, we're gonna make the iconic rose. I tried to make the design that would be fairly simple and not have too many individual petals. Patterning out my pieces, each rose requires 2 of these larger petals. I iron both sides nice and hot. The iron I used is the Amiibo mini project iron. It is perfect for smaller perler bead projects like these. I have a link for the iron in my video description. I decided to wear these silicone fingertips for shaping the petals. You can usually find these in a craft store near the hot glue. I found that the center of the masking tape roll is the perfect size to hold the shape of the petals until they cool. For the smaller petals of each flower, I only need 1. I ironed them nice and hot and curved each petal over the edge of the table to put less heat on my fingertips. I then fold each petal inward and wrapped tape around the pieces to hold its shape until it cools. I pattern out each leaf and the back piece of each rose. The back green piece is shaped the same way that we did for the sunflower, to hold the curve of the petals. Each leaf is curved similar to the sunflower leaves, just on a smaller scale. Assembling all the pieces is a similar process again. Bending the wire over to make a foot and gluing that to the innermost piece of the flower. Between each layer of the petals is hot glue to hold everything in place. The green piece finishes off the flower portion of the rose. The leaves are made similar to the sunflower leaves, except I experimented with a thinner floral wire for this design. The leaves are smaller for this flower, so the wire would not need to carry as much weight. With the thinner wire, there is enough space to wrap the wire around the large stem and be able to thread the perler beads over it. I filled the whole stem with beads and curved the end of the wire to finish off the rose. See how the small wire is a bit easier to shape but still strong enough to hold the weight of each leaf. For the final flower in my bouquet, I chose to make purple pansies. They're a smaller, less intricate flower, so I can put multiple on a stem, and this will help fill out the bouquet in the end. I used a different design to pattern each pansy to add some variety, but I kept them all in the same color scheme. Ironing the petals nice and hot. Each petal is slightly curved with my fingers to add more dimension. The leaves on the pansy are very basic and lengthy. And the back pieces of the flower are the same design as the other flower but on a smaller scale and in the lighter shade of green. To have 3 flowers on each stem, I had to cut the thicker wire into shorter stems. Assembling the flower used the same method that I used on a previous 2. Pansy petals are not symmetrical all around, so each petal is not threaded on at the exact center like previous flowers. For the leaves of each flower, I used the thinner wire once again. I changed up the design a little bit. I glued the wire on flat rather than with a foot loop. With the thinner wire, I can easily wrap the wire around the larger stem and still thread the beads over it. But I can only use the thin wire if there is not a lot of weight to be held. I finished 2 flowers with shorter stems. For the 3rd flower, I kept the stem nice and long. This is the central stem that the other 2 flowers will attach to. Once all 3 flowers are complete, I attach them to the central stem, much like how I attached the leaves to the sunflower. It's a little difficult to thread the beads onto 2 of the thicker wires, but not impossible. This just means that it's going to be nice and snug and won't go anywhere. One after another, I add each flower to the stem. I fill up the rest of the stem with beads and curve off the end, and the pansies are complete. For this bouquet, I made 4 stems of sunflowers, 5 stems of roses, and 3 stems of pansies. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you make one yourself, tag me. I hope you all have a lovely day, and I'll see you next time.